Okay, lesson 55. So we'll go through this again. The steps are to clear the fractions, then isolate. I said the E terms, that's because the first one we're solving for E. It's whatever you're solving for. You isolate those on one side, then you factor out whatever that term is, and then you just solve. So let's do that. So if I clear the fractions, I multiply through by EF. So I get JEF equals DHF minus IE. Then I want these two E terms to be on the same side. So I brought this one over to the left-hand side of the equal mark, which made it positive. Then factor the E out. You're left in parentheses with JF plus I, and it's still equal to this. And then you just divide by what's in parentheses. So you get the E is equal to this right here. Okay, so let's look at another example. This one has a little twist in it. So we're multiplying by GJ to clear the fractions. Now when you get ready to multiply this one by G and J, the J's are going to cancel, of course, but this is times G. You're going to have to do distributive property with that one. So that's how I got these two terms from that. Okay, now we're solving for J here. So I'm going to take this J and take it to the other side. And that's how I ended up with this. Then I can take these two terms and factor the J out. And I'm left with HG minus EF. And then I can divide by that. So you end up with this for your answer. Okay, let's move on down to number 4. It says the product of two consecutive positive integers is 62 more than the next one. So first of all, consecutive positive integers are n plus 1, and n plus 2. Okay, now this was at the end. So that's your setup. So it says the product of two of them, so the first two, is equals 60 more greater than the largest of the three. So the product has to be the two smaller ones. So n plus 2 there. When I do distributive property here, I get this. Since the n's are on both sides, you cancel those. So you have n squared equals 64, so you get 8. And you want to know what the largest one is. So it's going to be 8 plus 2, which is 10. So 10 is your answer. Here you've got a right triangle. You have 3 things labeled. The largest one has to be the hypotenuse. Then you set up Pythagorean theorem. So you have x squared. Then you have this squared. You're going to do this squared. It's going to be the product of this times 2. 14x times 2 is 28x. And then square that. Then this squared. And then the product of these two times 2 is 32x. And then square that. I hope you remember that from class. So this is 2x. Bring that down. These all are going to come to the left-hand side, and then I'll have 0 over here. When I bring them over, they're all going to become negative. So I just put them underneath their like terms. And then I could just solve that easily for x squared minus 4x minus 60. Then you just do your trinomial factoring. You get these two answers. But you can't have a negative for a measurement. So the 10 is the answer. So you have 10 here, but here will be 24, and here will be 26. Okay. Let's go on to 56. So 56, it's asking you what dB is, and it's a diameter because it's going through the center of the circle. I know that's the center because it's called circle O. Down here, I know they told me that this was 130 and this was 70, and I'm trying to find this angle here. So the rule is you take the 2 and you subtract them and divide by 2, and you'll get the angle created out here by 2 secants. So that's 30. This should be reviewed from geometry, I hope. You're trying to find AOB. That's a central angle. Actually, just trying to identify it in this case. It's a central angle because its vertex is at the center. Now, BDC is an inscribed angle because its vertex is on the circle. Flip it over. Here they're telling us that this is 134, and you're trying to find this one that I've got in red. So if this is 134, then we know that this arc right here is 134, because the central angle and its arc are congruent. I know that's a diameter because they told me it was, so this whole thing has to be 180, so 180 minus 134 is 46. If this is 46, this is an inscribed angle, so half of 46 is going to be that angle. So you get 23 for that one. Okay. Down here, working the same way, they tell you this is 78. That means that's 78. If that's 78, and this angle is half of that. So you do 78 over 2, which is 39. Uh, 57. We're going to use this formula right here. P1 V1 over T1 equals P2 V2 over T2. This is an ideal gas formula. It's what you use whenever it talks about pressure, volume, and temperature. So they give you the information. 36 milliliters is the volume, so I put that for the first V. Has a temperature of -17, I put it there. It says the pressure was held constant. That means it didn't change. So I just put regular P's. I didn't use the subscripts because they're equal. And then I know I can cancel them. And then it comes over here, it says, what is the new volume? So I don't know that if the temperature changes to 60. So you just have your first scenario and then the ending scenario, or like first and last, that kind of thing. So then you do 36 times 60 equals -17 times V sub 2, like this, and divide both sides by -17, and you get this. This says to answer it to the nearest milliliter, so you would change it to -127. Let's do another one. The volume is 330, so put it here. Atmospheres is pressure, so put it here. And temperature, Celsius is temperature, 25. Then it says, find the pressure, so I don't know that, when the volume is 250 and the temperature remains constant, so it's another 25. So when they're the same on both sides, remember they can cancel. So I just have this times this equals 250 times that. So you're just going to divide both sides by 250, put that in your calculator, of course. And we're going to just say 0.964 atmospheres. It's the same unit as the other pressure. Okay, so here's another one. We have a volume of 146 and a pressure of 110.3. It says, what is the volume when the pressure is 62.1 and the temperature remains constant? So these two are going to be the same. So I just cross them out. So again, I'll have this times this, and of course I want to divide both sides by that. So this times this divided by that, and you get 259.32. So I hope that was a good refresher.